There's no such thing as an overnight success story. Behind every $1 million grossing business is an operator who has endured failure, rejection, and self-doubt. However, their ability to continue to make millions of dollars in their businesses or get to that point is due to one thing, and I believe that is in the power and practice of being resilient. Hi, I'm Tulay, and welcome to the Simple Profit Podcast, where we focus on one thing and one thing only, and that is to provide you with insights and strategies on how to build $1 million grossing businesses. Help us out by giving us a follow on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, or your favorite podcast platform. So for those of us who have been blessed to experience this awesome entrepreneurship journey, we know that there are going to be experiences of failure where we're going to hear rejections on maybe ideas that we come up with or processes that we comes up that just fall short of whatever the outcome that we're trying to achieve. And these negative experiences, it's going to happen, eventually leads to thoughts and feelings of self-doubt, right? For me, typically happen in the evening time when I'm kind of unpacking my day, where I kind of run through what decisions have I made in the day, what type of conversations I've had that day. That's when it kind of seeps in. You're like, oh man, I wish I did this better, or I could have done this better, or this would have saved us X amount of time or X amount of money, right? These are all normal human feelings. Like, we're not robots after all. It's not like, we walk through our day, do whatever, and go back to our normal life like nothing happened. It just doesn't work that way, especially in position of leadership where we're responsible for the livelihood of many, many people, right? For those of us who operate multi-location businesses, you're not looking at just 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 staff members. Sometimes you're looking at 50, 60, 70 staff members. And then if you take into account the hundreds and thousands of students and members that we serve and all the communities we serve, it gets sometimes to be a little bit overwhelming. Now, the ability for me and us to pick ourselves up after these episodes and go back on the mats to teach that next awesome class or to continue to make decisions that we have to, being the leaders of our business, it's the difference between being successful and ultimately giving up. And believe me, I've thought about giving up many times, but I'm still here doing this podcast, for example. And here's the thing. When you do something new, like starting a podcast or opening a new location or starting a new business, whatever it is that you're looking at, the first time you experience failure and you have to bounce back is extremely hard to do. But once you're able to overcome that and you're able to get out of that self-doubt mindset and just jump back and record another podcast or go back to teach the next class or to go back into your business and continue to lead your team, the moment you're able to do that the first time, what we've done is particularly train a muscle in our brain to remember what that success feels like. And at that point, endorphins are released and our body tells us that, hey, this is good. This is good. The success of overcoming the feeling of self-doubt, right? That it just sucks you down and you just want to, for me, I just want to go into a room, shut off the light and just sleep. Okay, this is what, I'm also sleep deprived because of young kids, but that's what I tend to do, right? I want to tend to just like not go to our office or to the studio where the problem for me that is causing me this self-doubt lies. If I'm able to get myself out of bed, walking and opening the door to my office, going in there, going into my studio, going in front of my staff members or my students and continue what I'm supposed to do in my job as their leader, that feeling of success may not be as big as selling, let's say, a company for $1 million for me, but it's actually much, much more important in my development and our development as an entrepreneur and actually a human being, if we're looking at it. Because every time that I'm able to get my mind over that negativity and self-doubt, I'm getting more and more resilient. And this is one of the most important mindset for me and for us and for other multi-location operators, especially during COVID, by the way. That's like one of the biggest challenges that went through. And the people that are now coming out of it, right, are now seeing ultra success. And then the people that folded and said, you know what, this is too much, they've kind of lost that opportunity that we're seeing or the bounce back that we're seeing that's happening right now. And ultimately, if you want to grow into a multi-location operator, open up more studios where we can empower more lives, provide more jobs, and make a positive difference in maybe another community, building of that muscle is so important because every time that we're able to do that, our mind gets stronger. And the more resilient we are, the more our brain can actually handle. This is actually a study from kids who are in kindergarten. It's not how much math, how good they're at math, how good they are at science, how fast they can pick up reading. It's actually the emotional mindset of being resilient, of getting over a mistake and not beating themselves up too much. These kids show a lot more success in their teenage years and in their early 20s and 30s. Income potential, happiness level, all of that, right? That's not to say that I'm now in my 40s and 30s, I can't do that, or we can't do that, okay? It just takes practice. I learned this from Master Mike Mertens. He operates really successful schools in Buffalo. 20 years ago, I went to this seminar in Florida, and he said this quote to me, and it still sticks to me to this day. He says that whatever the size of your business is exactly what you can handle right now. For example, if we look through the progression of how we got to where we are as a business owner, we started maybe as a student. How good we are as a student determines how good we are going to be as a teacher, in my opinion. How many students we can effectively teach in a class determines how good I am as an instructor, right? And how good of a leader I am will ultimately decide how many instructors I can train, right? So instead of just being an instructor myself, if I'm really good, I can now manage a team of instructors and maybe convince them to work with me. How well I can manage all the complexity of business ownership determines how large of a business operation I can run. My family and I recently went to a all-inclusive resort in Mexico called Moon Palace. And I've never been to a place like this. It's rated one of the top family all-inclusive destinations in the world. So we went and checked it out. I actually brought the whole Encourage team. So during summer camp week where we are running summer camps, all of our partners, our main operator and their families, including us, we went to Mexico for a week. Nothing happened in our business. A bunch of our kids got sick because that's what little kids do. That was the most drama that we had. We didn't even talk about business that much, actually. So it was kind of nice to see that our business has kind of matured in this way. But this place was so massive, and I'm not exaggerating when I say this. It had over like 20 restaurants, over 3 properties that you have to take golf carts everywhere to go. There is a big water park. There is, I don't know, like 20 pools that you can go to. And the place was just massive, massive. The shows that they put on, and everybody was so nice. There's got to be like 40 people in the lobby that's just taking care of guests for check-in. So being business owners like we are and operators, we would, go to dinner. And of course, after we put our kids down, they had this little speakeasy. We would say, how in the world does this place makes money? And 2, how do they manage this? There's so many moving parts, right? The people that are driving the carts, the golf course, the spas, the pools, the kids center where you drop off the kids, the restaurant, like they have a manager for probably every restaurant. It was so big and complex that ultimately this was the outcome of that conversation. It's like, I never want to operate something like this for me because it was so big and my brain cannot handle that big of a business right now. It's an over $1 billion business, right? And my brain is not there yet. I don't have the mental capability to do that. So again, that last part, how well we can manage all the complexity of business ownership. In this case, if you own that Moon Palace, how well you're able to manage all these different complexities and people and things that could go wrong and things that should go right and things like that determines how large of a business we can run. And the fact of the matter is, you and I are never going to be able to execute perfectly. We're going to make mistakes. We're going to have setbacks at each one of these growth stages, right? From an instructor stage to maybe a leadership stage to a business ownership stage. And maybe the next stage is growing into a bigger business, maybe multi-location. This is where being resilient is so important because we need to be able to bounce back and get right back into the fight and start all over again. If you're looking at multi-location operations, now you got double the work, triple the work. You got a lot more staff members, a lot more things you have to deal with. And you don't have the time to sit there and sulk, and feel sorry for yourself. I'm sorry, you just don't, right? No one gives a crap. No one cares about how Tu is feeling. Or like, is he having a bad day today? Maybe I should, not be so hard on him on social media or wherever. It just doesn't happen that way. And you know what? It shouldn't. If people are going to pay me for a software platform to use or pay you to come to the martial art classes that you're teaching, or a staff member decides to work with me and I promise them X, Y, Z and we can't deliver on that, or if we're late on payroll, whatever that is, right? Which I've never done, by the way, never missed payroll. That's the one thing I refuse to do in my life, and it will never happen in my life. If you're promising something, you got to deliver on it. Everybody is different. Everybody handles adversity differently. For you, you need to understand what that looks like and to bounce back from that. The more you train that resiliency muscle in your brain, allows your brain to be able to handle more objections, more failures, complexities that ultimately is going to come when you start to grow your business. And this is really important because the feeling of self-doubt is never going to go away. It doesn't for me, at least. So the next time you have a setback, I recommend the following because this is what I adhere to whenever I have a setback, and I have a lot, guys, okay? My process and system for that is this. I allow myself to accept the mistake or the rejection that just came my way. Okay? I fully take it in. I don't try to sweep it under the rug. I deal with it head on. Like if someone's going to punch me in the face, I say, that person just punched me in the face. I deal with it head on, and then I forgive myself for it. Whatever decision I made, whatever idea I threw out there that got rejected, or the decision that I made came back to bite me in the butt where it was not a good decision, I accept it and I forgive myself for it. That's the only way for me, at least, to kind of move on and continue my day so that I don't let one mistake ruin all the rest of the successes I can have the next day, the next week, the next month, and so on. Don't forget to join us for our next episode as we continue to unpack what success looks like and the what, how, and why multi-location operators and successful entrepreneurs do in this series. Share this podcast with a friend and check out mystudio.io for the leading billing and management platform for your business. Thank you.